Yes, folks, and with that, welcome back. Today, we are going to take a look at the topic of drying. The vehicle is clean, and I want to show you a drying technique that can be used very effectively. There are many ways to dry the vehicle, using a regular large drying towel, measuring 90 by 60 or 80 by 50, or with several smaller drying towels. And there are also tools that support this a bit, especially when you don't have a lot of sealant, or when the sealant on the paint isn't very good. And there you can take a closer look at a Dryblade. It is ideal for pushing large amounts of water off the paint, whether in sheets or as droplets, gently, and then simply follow up with a small drying towel. Or I also brought you a drying glove to go over it again and take care of the finer details. And especially now here in this weather, we have 29 degrees. I just caught a moment where the entire little compact device is really in the shade. That's a huge advantage. So if you have the opportunity, check your SB box to see what time the sun is positioned, or maybe go in the early morning or evening hours when the sun is very low, so you don't have half the car sitting in the blazing sun. In this case, it fits perfectly here. Before we wet the vehicle now, I have brought the blue chemicalworkz Dryblade again, or the turquoise. One here is really nice to see. Looks very, very good. Also in terms of workmanship, it's absolutely perfect, super soft, super flexible, and that's why it's just great to use in this drying method, as you can work very, very well with it. And since I showed you this part here, especially the small variant that we are going to look at now, I have it in green for you. I would like to point out that you can also use it beautifully in the household or in the bathroom, here at the shower cabins, on the walls, and on the glass walls. Here is the small version with a very, very compact size, also super flexible and of course ideal for tight spaces. Let's take a look at that now. We are getting the car wet. I will now dry it off or pre-dry it with the two dry blades, large and small. And then we take a small 40 by 40 drying towel, which I also have in my bag. And then you can write your opinion. How do you dry your vehicle? With which technique? Many towels, a large dry blade, and towels, dry blade, and gloves. I'm really looking forward to your feedback as well. Write it to me in the comments below. So first, let's get the car wet. We can also just use the small one, but I am such a fan. You can do it very well with both versions. Just wet the blade briefly beforehand. Just run your finger along here briefly. It's that easy to check for any dust residues or anything like that. And whether you pull it off from the back or the front is completely up to you. Nice. I'm going to do this very diligently now, because having the camera and filming at the same time is naturally quite distracting. So I will focus in such a way that both work well. 2001, 45-degree angle. Just set it down easily. I can even reach over there. And then there are really only a few drops left. And if you increase the pace a bit, because you might be standing with half of the car in the sun, it will be much easier for you, as you don't have to talk on the side and film a video here. You can now also use the large blade here halfway and then simply sew it down over all surfaces, even from back to front, just like that. And look, where is there any remaining water now? Except for those little drops back there. Looks great. Now we can move on to the window. You just need to find your routine and the order in which you proceed. Here you can simply and easily take this over. Here you go, done. So you need to practice this once or twice to find your routine, your approach, and your sequence. But this is a huge relief. You can now, for example, use the large dry blade to also take care of the large side windows. Here you can go along the C-pillar again. Here are the main areas. But now let's use the large blade, because you can see that there are already many narrow spots done. We could still go a bit along the door here. Now we will take care of the larger areas, and here are the larger areas. All right, and now you can either switch to the small one, or you can already grab the towel. There are various techniques. You can now also finish the details here with the dry blade. Where you can still reach with the blade, you can take care of the small things. I then simply and very carefully go around the car once and work my way thoroughly from area to area, meticulously removing all the water spots. Here, here, and here. Here at the rear edge. So without the camera, It's noticeably easier. Here, I just made a mistake. Always work from top to bottom. That means don't wipe everything at the bottom first and then the top, because then it can drip down. So always start with the upper lines and then move to the lower ones. Then we go over this here again. Just cover the edge here and let everything just lay over it. So the only thing I really need to hold firmly here is this. You don't have to press down or anything like that. Just drive along here easily. You can also just use the small blade. It works just the same. At the beginning, you can still remove the water well with the cloth, but after about halfway through the vehicle, it can happen that you are just smearing with a regular drying cloth. Now we have actually removed almost all the water. Now, we will focus on the dry glove or on a Zercloth. I'm going to grab the dry glove now because I really like using it. And now I will just quickly go over these spots. Again with the dry glove, and it feels so relaxed. Basically, you can now just dance a little with the dry glove on the car. So, just take the small remaining droplets with you, even here on the hood. Let's take a look here. We still have that one strip to wipe away. And that is really the huge advantage of this dry glove. First of all, handling is completely relaxed because you always have it on your hand. You don't have to fold it again, but basically you just glide over the car once and can now ideally dry the car off with a dry glove. And I'm doing this right now with the dry glove because the right hand has the dry glove and the left hand has the camera, and it just works so brilliantly. Here again along the edge, and I just place it on and practically pull it behind me like a clock. Also down here, again back into the small gap. Yes, and this way you can directly participate in the details. It's as simple as moving back and forth, as if you were lightly brushing the paint dry. So it works really well, and with the dry glove, you can reach all the way up to the middle. It works very well. Yes, and that way the whole car is dry again. You can do it just like that. Even in small gaps, it gets in there. And this way, you have really minimized the risk of water spots. Yes, perfect. That's how it should be. So, that would be one way to dry the vehicle. Either use a blade to remove the coarse water residues beforehand. It also depends a bit on the size of your car. If you have a very large vehicle where the sealant doesn't work as well anymore, then you will have a lot of residual water, and it really makes sense to first remove the excess water with these pre-cleaning drying tools, as one could define them, to then do the details, either with a dry glove, if you want to use that, or with a 40x40 XXL cloth. You can also use a large one again, but I would really recommend using a small one because it is much easier to handle, especially if you have pre-dried the large areas. This is always a bit of a point regarding the small details around it. A cloth can last quite a while because the surfaces are small. But if you have to deal with a completely wet hood beforehand, and the roof is also quite large on a big station wagon, and there's a lot of water on it, you can partially do the hood and the roof, and then the cloth is already soaked with water, requiring a second one. So there are many possibilities. I'm not saying that this is absolute perfection. It is one of many ways to dry your vehicle. You can use these tools. Feel free to give it a try, especially in the shower area, as they are extremely good for removing water residues from the shower cabin glass. It's really great. So this is the best tool for the household as well, because sometimes you ask about things, and then you also take a few products for the household. Yes, for example, I really like the scrub pad, but this is also ideal for simply wiping down shower walls or tile walls to prevent getting too many limescale stains. So feel free to test this out. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And with that, I wish you a wonderful day, a beautiful rest of the day. I hope you also have lovely weather again, so you can take the time for the next car wash or the next car drying. Feel free to write below which tools you use. Are you more of a big drying cloth team, or two small drying cloths? Or do you prefer a Dryblade and a drying cloth? What are you using here? Specifically at the self-service box. That's what it's all about in 21, and I would definitely be interested. So feel free to write it down below. I'm looking forward to your feedback, and I'm someone who tests a lot of products, which is why I work with everything. I would also continue to use this trade on this vehicle because we have tested everything, including the topic of susceptibility to power and so on. I also used it in the M, and it worked very well. Until the next video, bye guys.